good morning, all of you. Welcome to our first event for 2020. It's a deep dive into what's happening and what's to come for the future of downtown San Jose. I'm Mary Huss. I am market president and publisher of Silicon Valley Business Journal and also San Francisco Business Times. This, of course, is the Silicon Valley Business Journal signature event, first of the year. So last year, our first year to really do this event, we decided it had to be an annual, and we talked about the projects that were on the horizon. This year, we're focused on those projects that either have arrived, and there are many of them, or are truly about to get started. There's no doubt that downtown San Jose is on the verge, in fact, in the midst of a major transformation with a number of projects that promise to change the look and skyline and the very energy of downtown San Jose as we enter the new decade. So we're very, very excited to continue to tell this story on our pages and online and through our events. Our morning will begin with a keynote address by San Jose Mayor Sam Liccardo. His presentation, and we're so delighted to have him and his vision help leading the charge here in San Jose. His presentation will be followed by two panel discussions featuring speakers, leaders from Google, San Jose State University, Swinson, Urban Catalyst, Cushman Wakefield, and the City of San Jose. So before we get on with the show, I want to thank our sponsors and invite some welcoming remarks. And I thank our partner sponsor, Bridge Bank, which is so always deeply invested as a stakeholder in the future of San Jose and the Silicon Valley. And J. Paul Company, which is doing so many things as a major investor and visionary, truly helping to shape that future. And we're going to see a lot from them in the coming months and years. And the official airline partner of the Silicon Valley Business Journal, Alaska Airlines. And supporting sponsors, we have the City of San Jose Office of Economic Development, Lehigh Hansen, and McCarthy Building Companies. So please give them all a round of applause. We appreciate the village it takes to. Thank you. A couple of people I'd like to acknowledge. I cannot possibly acknowledge all of the dignitaries, so you're going to have to forgive me. Perhaps the mayor will pick up on that. But I do want to thank Matt Mahood, who is the CEO of SVO, and thank you. And I see former Mayor Ron Gonzalez, so thank you for being here. And one of our VIPs I want to acknowledge is somebody on our team, Brian Carolyn. Brian, where are you? And this is actually his last day. He's retiring from, after a really wonderful time. He has so many great relationships. So Brian, I just want to acknowledge you and thank you. Where are you? Brian, wherever, there you are. A lot of love for Brian out there. So we're giving him his send-off today. So anyway, thank you for that. Thanks to all of you for being here. Soon, right after this, I'll be turning the podium over to our great leader of our newsroom and our general manager, who is Josh Moss, who is editor-in-chief and also general manager. And I do want to give him a special nod. If you all will really look at the great edition that he and his team produced. I like it's Plan Jose, but it's a complement to this, really a deep dive looking into the future of San Jose and a real comprehensive look at some of the projects and forces that are shaping the future. So I think, and also his reporter, Matt Nixa, who he's going to talk about in a minute, our great real estate reporter, did a lot with that. So Josh, great work on that, and thank you. So now I'd like to welcome to the stage Annabelle Chang, who is Bay Area Vice President of Alaska Airlines. She has something fun for you this morning. There you are.
Hi, good morning. So for 2020, I want to ask how many of you have already started making vacation plans? By show of hands. All right. Well, I'm excited to share that at Alaska Airlines, we will be launching a new route to Puerto Vallarta from San Jose and increasing our routes to Los Cabos. So for all of you, you should know that San Jose Airport is the fastest growing major airport in the United States, which is really exciting news. So as we talk about the future growth of San Jose Airport is going to be one of those key players. So thank you.
Thank you, Annabelle, and thank you, Alaska. And Annabelle, congratulations. She's just returned. She's a new mom, so we're glad to have her back. All right, and so congratulations. That needs a round of applause for Annabelle's new baby. All right, and from Bridgebank, please welcome Ken Menina, Senior Vice President, Senior Business Development Officer with the SBA and Real Estate Lending Division of Bridgebank. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, and thank you, San Jose Business Journal. Good morning. I'm just returning to work after a long leave, and I looked around the room. I think I'm one of about 4 people in here wearing a tie today, so it's kind of an interesting observation as things have changed. Downtown San Jose, cranes in the air. I was just notified yesterday that the Adobe site on West San Fernando is putting up their second crane, or DevCon is, the 18-story tower going up there. And that's actually right next door to where Bridgebank is located, where we moved to downtown about 16 years ago. And we prospered ever since. So welcome to the 2020 Future of Downtown San Jose. My name is Ken Menina, and I'm with Bridgebank. We're pleased to be a sponsor of this event. We look forward to the comments of Mayor Liccardo and our panelists regarding the outlook for 2020. Bridgebank was started in 2001. We relocated to downtown in 2004. And we did that to be near to collaborate with our other service providers and professionals that serve our client base. It's worked out well. Bridgebank thrives, supporting basically our customers in downtown San Jose and the surrounding area. And it does it with experienced, knowledgeable bankers. Along with the revitalization and movement of innovation companies into downtown San Jose, this has contributed to a 3x growth in business assets of Bridgebank over the last 5 years, from $2 billion to $6 billion. We're very pleased and proud of that. So we look forward to continuing to partner with our clients in downtown San Jose, throughout California and the nation. Thank you. Enjoy the program.
Good morning, everybody. It's really terrific to be here to see all of these folks. You know, 2 years ago when we did our first downtown-related event, I think we had about 200 people. Last year, it got to 300, and this year we're over 400, and really happy that you all are with us. My name is Josh Moss. I'm the editor-in-chief and the general manager of the Silicon Valley Business Journal. This event is really just one part of our focus of looking at the future of downtown. As Mary was saying, our issue this week is really all about what's happening here, and we took the approach that over the last couple of years we've been talking about a lot of proposals, a lot of things that we said were about to come. Well, our belief is, and we can see it all around us, that things are finally happening here. The cranes are going up, the projects are starting, the demolition crews are getting ready, and the milestones are lining up. And so you're going to see 20 projects in this week's issue where there is definite activity happening. Plus, just a couple of other shout outs in there. You'll be hearing from a couple of other developers, Ted McMahon of Bayview Development, which is erecting the mixed-use Miro, which is rising as we speak, and Ben Kachalski, who heads TMG's Silicon Valley office and oversees the development of the 1.1 million square foot Platform 16 office project on the west side. And all of this is the work of our relatively new commercial real estate reporter, Matt Nixa. If you haven't met Matt yet, I'm sure you will. Matt, where are you? Matt, up? Yeah, there you go. Congratulations to you, Matt. Now, before we get started with the program, Please note that our conversation on social media is ongoing, and we'd like you to follow it under the hashtag of SVBJ. Please take photos and post them as they come up. Now, is he here? Yes? All right. Oh, there he is. I was figuring out if I had to stretch for time, but I don't. So without further ado, let's get to our keynote speaker, who's just starting the second year of his second four-year term. Please welcome Mayor Sam Liccardo.
Well, good morning, everyone. Great to be with all of you this morning. And I want to thank the Business Journal and Josh and the entire team for bringing us together this morning. And thank certainly all of our sponsors, particularly our title sponsors, Alaska, Bridge Bank, J. Paul, and thank you for all you do to help build a great downtown. Today, we do celebrate the 100th anniversary of Prohibition. The bar downstairs will be open all day because, after all, it is happy hour somewhere in the world. And for those of you who were at the SVO breakfast yesterday, you also know it's the 100th anniversary of the scheduled opening of BART in San Jose. You guys are a way better crowd than they were last year, right? Thanks, man. It was, you're right. So on that note, I was asked to speak about the future of the downtown, and there's certainly been a lot of rapid changes here, but it's hard to appreciate just how unique this moment is unless we take a bit of a step back. I can remember moving into downtown about 20 years ago, and a few years after that, it was around the time just after the dot-com bust, and as Scott Neese would say, you could shoot a cannon down 2nd Street and not hit anyone. I can remember a few years later, I decided to run for city council in downtown, and so with fear and trepidation, I knocked on the door of former Mayor Tom McHenry, which was sort of a rite of passage. And I can remember Tom telling me to sit down in the living room and figured he would inspire me with a great vision for the future of downtown. And he spent about 15 minutes grousing about how hard it is for small businesses and restaurants who struggle so much to survive here. And he concluded by asking me, Sam, you seem like a smart guy, at least before you got the silly idea of running for city council. How is it that you make a millionaire? And I said, well, Tom, I don't know. How do you do that? He said, well, you take $1 billion and you invest it in downtown. So that was less than inspiring. But the good news is today, I think we have more reason for optimism. We've seen extraordinary things happening all around us. Adobe's expansion, and J. Paul's making a huge investment here. Small company named Google coming in. Lots of people coming in, which is a great thing. We need more folks. And there's not a whole lot more I can say that's going to be terribly newsworthy, which is, I know, very disappointing for the Business Journal folks because they invited me here so I would say something they could actually print. And so I will report this. This is a report I obtained from a source from the approximate credibility of, say, the White House Twitter feed. And I'll say that some people are talking about one particular group of investors that are coming in from London. And when Princess Meghan and Prince Harry move into their new condo at the Axis, downtown hoteliers will be very happy about the fact that this will be a big boon for incoming paparazzi. So thank you to the good folks from Megxit. Josh, you got your story. Hopefully that's a lead one. Now we'll get on with the future downtown. I just wanted to offer in these brief minutes my view of what the future downtown will be. It will be, in my view, bigger, a bit cozier, innovative, talented, and compassionate. So let me start with bigger, bit cozier. I think we all know the downtown is expanding in size, but I think if you look at the magnitude of what is planned, you can start to appreciate what I mean. We have a little less than 10 million square feet of office in the downtown today. What we have under construction, if we just look at a few of the sites, J. Paul, Boston Properties, Adobe, what Sobrato did on the other side of 87, about 3 million square feet, pretty substantial increase. You look at what some of those folks are planning in terms of expansion, plus what Gary Dilbaugh's working on, and Urban Catalyst and others. we are talking about another 7 million square feet. And I haven't even mentioned Google yet, perhaps another 6 million or more square feet on the other side of 87. That is an increase of about 150%, or that is, we'll have a downtown 2.5 times our current size. That is pretty significant. And certainly we've never seen that kind of growth in our past. We all hope it's all going to get built, and so we're pushing hard to do everything we can as a city, and thank you to our great city team who is right up front for doing all they can. I describe the future of downtown as being, as I mentioned before, bigger but cozier, innovative, talented, and compassionate. I guess it makes some sense to just jump to the last point here, because I believe this is an incredibly compassionate community. Some shots were taken at a particular company that has announced plans to move in, but I should note that Google has uniquely, unlike any other company we have dealt with or any other city has ever dealt with, made extraordinary commitments to build somewhere around 3,000 to 5,000 units of housing, and committed a quarter of those units, 25%, would be affordable and rent restricted, and has committed to pay a commercial impact fee that we haven't even approved yet that will be used to build affordable housing. Yes. And have committed to pay community benefits, I would imagine some amount of which will be used for affordable housing by the city. And I haven't even mentioned the $1 billion commitment they made for affordable housing throughout the region. We do have a compassionate community, although there is no question we have much, much more work to do. And I think we all know that homelessness is the great scourge of not just our city, but every city in the Western United States. From Las Vegas to Honolulu, from San Diego to Seattle, we are grappling with this extraordinary challenge. And we see it every day in our downtown on nearly every block. And if anyone can fix this, it needs to be Silicon Valley. That's who we are. And we must. And I'm proud to say that since 2015, working with the county, the Destination Home, and a lot of nonprofits who are hustling pretty hard on this, we've moved 7,982 people off the street into permanent housing. Now, that would be really good news, of course, if we could say that's actually significantly diminished the challenge, but we know homelessness has gotten worse in that time. And so we're going to continue to push to get more affordable housing built. It's great to see Second Street Studios open just a couple of months ago. Villas on the Park is now opening and bringing in folks. I think they're just about all full now with formerly homeless residents. North San Pedro, another project, is under construction. All of these are extremely low-income projects that will house primarily homeless and formerly homeless individuals. This week, we're moving people into our tiny homes community, which we just built with the help of Habitat for Humanity and a few partners. I know Gensler's in the room and others. Just east of 101, we'll have a second community that's under construction today. We have converted motels, including a couple in the downtown. They have moved more than 1,000 people off the street. As transitional housing, we're expanding our jobs program to actually provide employment to homeless individuals cleaning our city. And we know there's a lot of work to be done, and we're going to expand that to more than 100 homeless this year and more to come. But I think we all recognize it hasn't been enough. It hasn't been enough. We have more to do. And one thing we recognize is we were moving more and more folks off, and we're still seeing homelessness grow, is that although we're keeping our homeless residents housed, once we get them housed, we know that the economy is pushing more people out into the street than we're able to house. And so prevention is going to be a critical piece of this, and we're learning as we go because, of course, no city has fixed this yet. But in partnership with Destination Home and a lot of other folks, we launched a prevention program that has, since we launched this about 18 months ago, enabled us to get to 1,054 families before they get their notice of eviction and provide them with small grants that enable them to stay on their feet, to stay in their apartments. And what we have learned is that with relatively small amounts of money, about $4,300 per family, we're able to keep 95% of them housed 6 months later. And so we think we're onto something, and we need to find ways to scale these efforts. And that requires investment, of course. And so I guess as a politician, it would be remiss for me not to tell you about the next election. It's coming in March. Measure E is on your ballot. Measure E, I know, it's never happy news to talk about taxes, but this is a transfer tax on real estate on parcels that are more than $2 million. The council has already committed that every dollar of this money this year, and I expect in future years, certainly as long as I'm mayor, will be committed to affordable housing and homeless solutions. We lost about $40 million a year in affordable housing funding when the state eliminated redevelopment in 2011. We have had no ongoing source to replace that lost funding, and of course that loss came just in time for the great boom, and of course this housing crisis that has resulted. So we need to find a way to replace those funds, and that's what Measure E is about. It'll generate between $50 and $70 million a year, and that's why I'm pushing hard to make that happen. We know that this is a downtown that's going to continue to grow. We're going to do it compassionately. We're going to make sure that this is inclusive and we're able to try to get more housing built. It is a great challenge, I know, for those builders who are in the room. They can tell you very clearly we are all faced with mighty challenges in trying to get a shovel in the ground due to very high construction costs. Now for high-rise in excess of $700,000 a unit. That we know is going to continue to hamstring us as we're trying to get more projects underway. Grateful to see those who have invested and taken the significant risk, and we're going to be cutting some ribbons soon. I know Case Swenson's team is just about done over there in San Carlos, but what we need to do more and more is think about how we can innovatively help housing get built. And at the city, we've been leaning in with an awful lot of builders to see how we can enable micro-housing, co-living, several projects we hope will break ground soon, including Garden Gate and Star City, enabling much smaller housing, much smaller bedroom units with larger communal spaces that we think, and the market thinks, will actually help more folks get underway and put many more people in each tower. A lot of prefab and modular construction has just been either completed or underway, and we're also looking to open the code to cross-laminate timber. I hope that we will see our first project very soon. We've been talking to a few folks about that. We're going to need to be innovative. We're going to need to continue to work with the private sector to find ways to get housing built at a time when it is mightily, mightily difficult. And we're going to be innovative in lots of ways in our downtown. We expect that our downtown will be a platform for the demonstration of those technologies and those ideas that will have a global impact, and we're seeing that more and more. Facebook launched its Telegraph program to see how they could connect in the poorest of communities in rural India with high-speed broadband using new Wi-Fi approaches. We've just gone out with an RFI to see how we can build transit more innovatively and more cost-effectively from our airport to Diridon, and then all the way down West San Carlos and Stevens Creek. We have had 23 submissions already from the private sector. There's a lot of enthusiasm to see how we can reimagine transit in this way at a time when we know it's mightily expensive to build. We are currently testing geofencing technology relating to those scooters which you either love or hate, depending on whether or not you've had a collision in the last month. We are working right now with all the scooter companies and telling them if they want a permit to continue operating, that they need to use technology that will enable the scooters to actually stay off of sidewalks in dense areas. And they are leaning in with us with all kinds of very interesting technologies. I was just talking to the team at Uber a couple weeks ago, and I think we're going to be able to launch something pretty exciting in the next few weeks. And we look at the existing transit we have, for example, the light rail, which we know is so underutilized, and a lot of right-of-way is dedicated there. And how could we better utilize that right-of-way to be able to move more people where they want to go. So the Valley Transportation Authority is leaning in a big way to see how we might, for example, and you'll see this, I think, come up in the news in the months ahead, how we might, for example, consider autonomous bus rapid transit. That is, taking away the tracks and putting in rubber tires and actually moving more people less expensively along those same routes, and as the technology emerges, enabling those buses to take left turns and right turns to be able to better serve residents who do not live in a linear world. This is a great opportunity for us to be able to see how our downtown can be a demonstration platform for the rest of the world. And as I aspire to make San Jose the most successful multicultural, diverse community on the planet. That's a big ambition, but I'm confident we can get there, and it's going to start right here in our downtown. It's going to start with great anchor institutions like San Jose State University, and I know you're going to hear from Mayor Papazian shortly. It's going to start with newcomers into downtown who have new ideas, and we're going to do it together. So I look forward to working with all of you to make a great downtown. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've helped us set the stage for our two panel conversations. The first brings together three people with unique perspectives on where development is headed. One representing San Jose's oldest developer, one representing the city's next giant developer, and one whose job it is to focus on the city's economic health and kind of bring it all together. So please welcome Mary Papazian, President of San Jose State University, Alexa Arena, Google's Director of Real Estate Development, and Kim Walsh, the Director of Economic Development for the City of San Jose. Well, thank you all very much for coming this morning. I want to sort of set up this conversation first, as I noted that we're with some of the biggest landholders and developers here. We've got San Jose State University to the east of San Jose, the oldest public institution in the West Coast and the largest property owner here. We've got Google to the west and helping to totally remake the West. And has come in and very quickly become one of the largest landholders. And of course, we've got the city to help guide us through this all. I want to start off first in wanting to get an update from you about what's happening with your projects, especially going in 2020, because I know that there's a lot happening. And Alexa, I want to start with you. I know you're going to the City Council by the end of this year. You're making some modifications along the way. Bring us up to speed on how the framework has changed or is changing.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously, we're honored to do a project that really was the starting of the implementation of a vision you all have held for, over a decade, and that the city has really taken great leadership on. So this was a great opportunity, I think, to do the right type of public-private partnership in a very unique way and realize as many of these balanced goals as we can in particularly tense times. And so what we first did was obviously look at the overall planning of the site and say, how should this evolve? It's obviously evolved with height limits from the OEI height increases that took place earlier in 2019. But also we hear a lot and we know that there is a regional housing crisis. And so how can we update the plan, not necessarily to utilize those height increases for more office, but actually to utilize them to produce a very meaningful amount of housing. And so that was the first big step for us in 2019, was revisioning with the city what was in the previous zoning about a few hundred units of housing, and is in this current plan more like 3,000 to 5,000 units of housing, with the swing representing some of the nuances around us, like what happens with the DISC process and the rail process. The second piece was really to reimagine a lot of how the open spaces in the public realm can work. We heard over and over again from the community that the civic assets that are on the site are so important as not just something to serve the site, but something that to serve as a regional anchor, which is beholden on us, given the fact that this is right adjacent to what will be second to Grand Central Station in terms of its transit interconnectivity. So how can it help feed and build on what exists today, which we're honored to be part of a city that has incredible institutions like San Jose State and Somos Mayfair. There's so many different incredible partnership opportunities to become sort of part of that overall ecosystem, and what is our best role to fit in that. And so I think that's the co-creation of what you'll see with the city in the year ahead, which is what people are anxious to find out about. What is the way you're addressing affordable housing within that housing package? How do you see creating learning pathways that are meaningful for people from all across the spectrum in San Jose? And that's the co-creation work that we're working on with the city as our primary partner, which we're excited to unroll in the year ahead.
Great. Mary, last year you opened the Spartan Recreation Center. You're at work on the interdisciplinary science building, some of the first new buildings that have cropped up on the campus in a long time. Bring us up to speed on what's happening with the ISB building, and do you expect to see more new development come to the university?
Well, thank you. And we're also, in 2020, we are moving into, this is the year 150 years ago that we laid the first brick in the city of San Jose, just to give you an idea of how long we've been here. And so we've watched San Jose as a city change and evolve and have been part of the heart of it. And so we're very, very proud of that. We are going through, I think, some wonderful construction and development that is very much aligned with the emergence of the city of San Jose to its rightful place as a major urban center in California and in the West. One of the things that's changed, and this is, let me start with this. There is still a perception out there, I think, that we are a commuter school and that there aren't students here all the time. We have 35,000 students. We have 7,000 faculty and staff. By the time you add that up, we are over 40,000 strong. And that is a significant number of people. And many of you who live and work here in downtown know that when we are in session, it's a very different feel coming off the light rail than it is when we're not. And so we have about 4,000 literally on campus on the square block of Washington Square, and another 15,000 within 3 to 5 miles of the campus. And so there very much is a move toward being a campus in and of the city of San Jose. And so we see the city of San Jose as our college town. And we think as we develop new buildings, we think about ways to keep students close. So the Student Aquatic and Recreation Center, and if you haven't seen it, come on and take a look. It is meant to create stickiness. So our students have things to do on the weekends and the evenings, that they stay on campus and in the city. To be part of the city, to take advantage of all that the city has to offer. And that's just one example. And students are in there night and day, and it's an extraordinarily vibrant place. The interdisciplinary science building, the steel is going up. This is an 8-story building, and we designed this to look out and to be connected to the city. We will be moving and planning for an innovation building that will be contiguous to the science building. That's the next goal, and that is a space that is to bring business, industry to campus, to work with students and faculty to solve the big problems of the day. And we have tremendous resources, and we want to be part of solving all the problems that are around us. I should add very quickly before I know Josh wants to move on, I can see it. But let me just say, thinking about some of our unexpected guests today, we are also known as a campus for social mobility. We have no majority population, and we really are that avenue for the American dream. And so the integration, the engagement of the university with the city in its growth to ensure that it is inclusive, that it is human-centered, that it is really that kind of forward-looking, dynamic city is something we're very excited about. And one last comment on housing. The other question that we, like all of us, think about is how can we house our students and our faculty and staff in ways that are affordable. Our faculty, our staff are under contracts that are consistent across the state of California, and we all know the cost of living here is much higher than in Humboldt County or in Bakersfield. And so we have to find ways to keep faculty here who engage in the arts, in the restaurants, in the life of students, in research, to create that very, very dynamic place.
Kim, you're involved in a lot of different things, obviously. You've got a big portfolio. But what's one of the major projects that we should expect to see more of from the city in 2020?
Well, and I need to thank you, Josh, and the Business Journal for doing just a fabulous job of capturing all of the projects that are happening in our community. Job number one is clearly to support and facilitate the projects in the core that are happening, to get the planning approvals, the building approvals, and manage the construction. Job number two is we had always envisioned that we would fill in and densify the downtown core and then expand downtown west to Diridon Station. So this year, we're very focused on major planning decisions will be made this year with regard to Diridon Station. I think you know we have an initial concept plan for the new intermodal station. We will be working the next year to 18 months to turn that into a project description. It's important that everybody in this room understand the magnitude of what is going to happen there in the long run. When you add up the Caltrain, expanded their service vision, BART, high-speed rail, we're in the process of designing a new intermodal station to accommodate 8 to 10 times the number of transit passengers in Diridon today. That is the same level of passengers roughly at SFO. So we are creating a hub that will be here for transit, unlike anything we've seen in Northern California, I'd argue the Western US. So we're also looking at how can we increase the capacity for development in the Diridon Station area because we now have the opportunity to raise the heights. Teaser alert, we'll have some initial capacity numbers in March. We're hopeful to have capacity for thousands of additional housing units and more millions of square feet of office in the Diridon Station area. And of course, we're working very closely with Google and the community and all the city departments to review the Google mixed-use plan so that we will be in a position to approve it by the end of the year. And of course, that includes negotiating the development agreement and what will be a very robust community benefits plan.
Community is the subject of my next question. I think it takes on a little bit more prominence because of what happened on this stage just a little bit ago. Even though I wrote the question in a different way, which was, how do you navigate such large-scale development plans with the communities around you, both in terms of the business community, the development community, and of course the community that we saw here. Alexa, with your all the elaborate plans and the intricate planning that you've got to do for a project of Google size, thinking about building heights or ripple effects. We're already seeing other businesses starting to set up in the west side. What kind of things, from a community standpoint, are you taking into consideration when it comes to development?
Yeah, I think development, what's unique about development of this scale is the hard part is not the buildings. I think the hard and the most opportunity in this scale is about making the right set of partnerships, making sure you're thinking very carefully, not just about the amount of units of housing, but the mix of that housing, trying to, through which obviously you've seen us do, launch a fairly significant housing fund that goes beyond the project in order to think about strategies of more, akin to the 3 Ps that I think the city is really established as a way to say, how can we have equitable growth? And that includes both production and preservation at its focal point. And so all of that work is the work that I think is so critical to make this a project that doesn't feel is more than just a set of new buildings for San Jose, but is an outgrowth of the true vision that the city and the communities and people of San Jose have set forth. And so we take that responsibility very seriously. And I think every time, you can either sort of close your ears when something occurs where it's people who have really legitimate anxiety, or you can say, how can we lean into that problem? How can we think a bit differently? What can we do as who we are and use our resources, the scale of the project, to investigate new construction types to reduce the costs and increase the amount of affordable housing, et cetera, in order to solve this problem. So that's where I spend a majority of my time. I have a fantastic team that is growing by the day to help support that, not the least of which I think is something that's very interesting for Google to lean into, is a role that is a social infrastructure director role that is building a team across all of our districts as we have growth in Silicon Valley to think through meaningful job programs, meaningful partnerships that last for decades to come.
Mary, when sort of a similar question about the communities that you impact and how they impact you in the downtown campus to the east and especially to the south, where we're seeing some big development plans. They haven't quite followed through yet. What do you think of that symbiosis with those neighborhoods?
Well, I appreciate that. We are part of the community. I mean, we are the community, I would say that, as a public university who serves the students around us. So that's a really important part. We're also, by the way, in case anybody wondered, part of downtown. Every now and then there are some old maps, so downtown stops at 4th Street. Yeah, so I know that's changed. That's a little bit archaic, but we are part of that downtown. Mm-hmm. And so we provide that community life, I think, that really enriches the experience of those who will live in all of those housing towers that are being constructed in glass from our South Campus athletic fields. And I invite all of you to come and see and experience the work that's being done down there. We have a new Spartan Athletic Center that's in the planning stages. Actually, we've already started some of the preliminary construction preparation. That needs to be connected to the downtown in a meaningful way through transportation, so that all of you and all who live there will come to those football games, fill the stadium, root for the Spartans, come to Mubadala tennis tournament, which is a lead up to the U.S. Open in the women's side, and so many other kinds of activities that are happening down there. So we provide that. We also do that in the arts, and think about the Hammer Theater, where we stepped in several years ago and partnered with the city to really bring that theater to life. And the beauty of it is the programming is varied, it's diverse, it's inclusive, and it's extraordinary. You can go there just about any night and experience something. Some of it might be very traditional, but others will be new, cutting edge, new voices that really touch on some of the critical issues of our day. So we are that cultural, that athletic, that intellectual center that will bring life to the community around us. And so, great cities, and I said this to the mayor when I first came 3.5 years ago, great cities need great universities and vice versa. We also need great partners, and we have that, and we look forward to where we go from here.
Kim, as you have consulted with both San Jose State and Google in their plans, are there pieces of advice that you give to them or to another large-scale developer who are really coming in with these truly ambitious multi-million square foot plans on how to get the job done?
I mean, I think it's so obvious, perhaps, that great cities need great universities, and we have a great university in our midst, and if we didn't have one, we'd be out recruiting one. And that great cities welcome and leverage their anchor institutions, right? Those institutions that are here, that are rooted, that are not going anywhere, and that have the ability to really be deeply embedded in the community, including engaging with us on what is really the fundamental question facing us now. And that is, how can San Jose grow according to all the plans that we have to welcome jobs and welcome residents and welcome transit investment, and ensure that we're doing everything we can to prevent and mitigate the downsides of that and to maximize the opportunity for our most vulnerable people in San Jose, right? Our lower skilled people are less able to weather this change than the rest of us. And what we've learned is that San Jose has been a leader. We're part of a national network of what are the things that we can do to prevent displacement. And we have been a leader in things like affordable housing, tenant protections, anti-displacement tools. But there is so much more that we need to do. And it's not just about affordable housing, and it's not just about protecting people from displacement. It has to also be about opportunity. So what we are all working on is how do you create not just those pathways, but I would say those super highways of opportunity from the east side to San Jose State, to jobs at Google and the companies that you have. So all of the children that are growing up here and whose families have been here really have an opportunity to succeed in an economy that is going to be driven by science and technology. That's who we are. And so this is the question that, especially with our anchor institutions who are here for the long time, we intend to be a leader on this.
Well, no question, housing is a huge chunk to this, both in where people live, but also in what you build. And I mean, Alexa, Google has got a lot of different elements to its housing plan. I wonder, when you're looking over that mix, anywhere from 3,500 to 5,000 or so units, how do you determine what's the right mix of housing? Where do you put them, and how do you fine tune those plans?
I mean, that's something that we definitely don't determine alone. And I think, likewise, that's something that is going to change over time. This is a big project that does evolve and change and is apt for experimentation. So I think what you'll probably see us do is very much partner with affordable housing leaders who've built great projects before, work with a variety of the different service providers. I can't stress enough what Kim just said, which is I think we are all super focused on the lack of housing production and displacement, which we absolutely should be, but we are very much leaning into the and, which it's not just about housing, it's also about how to make sure that we can layer that housing with an set of opportunity pathways in order to help people get to that next level and achieve that next level, which I think is very important. So, you know, the short answer is it's not something we sort of go into a room and kind of lock away in terms of optimizing product. It's actually a very iterative and evolving process, which I think will be flexible in its nature over time and highly connected with the overall programs of how can we think of this as an ecosystem, both in and of itself in this balance, but then with the broader San Jose community.
Mary, one of the changes that has happened that the city approved last year was co-living and encouraging more co-living. I've got two questions for you. One, do you anticipate new student housing actually being built on campus? And what's your opinion about some of the co-living projects that are coming, especially the Grad San Jose, which is opening up right outside of your doors?
Well, we do plan and actually we're in the planning stages for another tower of housing for students on campus, Campus Village 3. And this will be based on what students tell us they are looking for. Freshmen want a certain kind of housing, sophomores a different kind, and upperclassmen different, and then graduate students something else. And so we've already surveyed the students. We have an idea of really what those numbers look like, what the rates are that they're able to pay, and the kind of environment they want. I should add, when we build student housing, we really try to create a learning environment there. So, you know, housing that just goes up where students can rent it is one thing, but we try to create learning communities, environments where there might be upperclassmen with lowerclassmen, where faculty might live in residence to help lead conversations and to expand the learning environment beyond the classroom. So there's another layer that we tend to consider. And one of the requests I would make is for those of you, and I know there's a number of you thinking about building housing that caters to students, because we are here and there's a lot of them. And we thank you for that, by the way. We need that very much. We would love to have a conversation with you from the outset to really talk about what we think is needed for a healthy learning environment. And so that is something that we've had some of those conversations, and we look forward to doing more. You know, co-living, I don't know. You have to ask the 20-year-olds what they think about it. I have a 21-year-old and a 26-year-old, and I learned a long time ago not to try to guess what they like.
You know, I want to close. You're all in it for the long haul. You've been here for 150 years. Not you personally, sorry.
But I wear it
The
well.
university does.
Yeah.
Yes, you do. You've been here for more than a couple of years, slowly kind of building up, but you're here also for the long haul, and of course the city as well. You know, I woke up this morning at about 2:30 from thinking about this event, and I know that there must be things that wake you up too as you think about the projects that you're doing and the big developments. So I'm going to ask, what keeps you up at night, or what gets you up early in the morning? Like, what's that flash of, oh my God, what about this? I'll start with you.
Well, I'm really excited about the synergy right now. I think we have a unique time as a university and as a city and as a broader community to really create that forward-looking, inclusive, innovative environment. I worry about ensuring that it is inclusive and that opportunity is there for all. So I share Kim's comments on that very much. I worry about safety. Because we have a lot of students living on campus and we need to make sure that they come in a safe environment. But I'm excited about the possibilities, and I just need to put one plug in for Proposition 13, which will be on the ballot in the spring. It's not the old Prop 13, do not confuse it. It is a large ballot measure to support capital construction for K through the universities. And this will enable us to continue to see some funds come in so that we can continue to grow and to update our facilities, some of which are very old and you know, take up a footprint that can be easily rethought as we apply our master plan. We're going through a master planning process right now. But it's really about safety. It's really about affordability. It's really about ensuring diversity. And it's really about ensuring that there is a harmony between all of the entities that the three of us up here represent as we move forward.
Kim?
I wake up feeling huge responsibility and excitement about making the most of this moment in time. You know, cities evolve gradually over time, and then there's periods where they just accelerate. And we stand today on the shoulders of people who have gone before us, you know, for decades, who have worked so hard and had such passion for this place. But I feel like now there's never been a set of partners and developers who are really in a position to invest deeply in this community, to engage the real questions, and then to really be here for the long run and have that sense of ownership and compassion and continued investment. And I'm excited about that.
Alexa, last word.
Yeah. Well, look, I think just on a personal level, the reason I came to Google, because I've been doing large-scale projects for some time, is there's an aspect of when you're on the development side, a bit of a challenge around how can I go really deep with some of these strategies that could be new models. And part of that is you're not the end user, so it's a challenge, and there's different ways of thinking when you're on the user side of things. So for, I think, all of our team, that's why they joined. That's why they signed up for this. As I look at international models of large-scale developments, as I kind of referred to before, sometimes what I think can happen is they come off as a little bit, they've grown so fast that they lack the essence of like true community and culture out the gate. They can feel a bit sterile. That keeps us up at night because that means it hasn't sort of leveraged that piece that is the softer piece of how program and partnerships come in to bring that to life. And so I think there's almost like a sequence to the way that you think of design as a developer, where it's not design for design's sake. It's about people, it's about program that design supports. And so we are constantly all waking up every morning trying to solve, different problems and areas and bringing that type of thinking to it. I think I totally echo what Kim says. I know our whole team does, is like you're constantly waking up going, oh, what about this? What about this? And trying to find the time to sort of bring as many ideas and conversations to fruition. And I think that's extremely exciting and extremely important work for all of us.
Well, thank you, Alexa Arena with Google, Kim Walsh with the City of San Jose, and Mary Papazian with San Jose State University. Please give them a round of applause. Now, to dig in deeper into some of the topics you've just heard is our next panel. We do have one more. 4 people who are deeply connected to downtown projects in the works right now. Marlise von Romberg, managing editor of the Silicon Valley Business Journal, is going to moderate this discussion, and she'll be talking to Case Swenson, president of Swenson, Eric Hayden, founder of Urban Catalyst, Eric Hallgrimsson, vice chairman of Cushman & Wakefield, and Blage Zalalic, the City of San Jose's downtown manager. Please give them a big round of applause.
Well, thank you so much, Josh, for that great conversation, and thank you to the 4 of you for joining us here on stage. So to kick things off, I think, by way of introduction, I'd like each of you to talk a little bit about what projects or initiatives or deals you're working on this year that you're most excited about. And I think we'll just start at the end with Blage.
Okay. Good morning. Very excited to be here this morning. I have the good fortune of waking up every morning and thinking about downtown for my job. And I also have the good fortune of working on a wide variety of things. So I'm excited about a lot of things in downtown San Jose, from the large-scale developments that everybody has been talking about and that these gentlemen will talk more about, to kind of the small things that really make kind of the cherry on top of the sundae in a city and the reason why people want to come to cities. So improving the pedestrian experience, getting more retail into our ground floor spaces, redesigning Park Avenue into a really fantastic pedestrian thoroughfare that connects San Jose State in the east to the Diridon Station in the west. A lot of those kind of small things are the things that are really exciting for me. We've done a lot of work on that over the last 3 years that I've been at the city. One of the major projects that we were able to bring forward after many, many years, actually 10 plus years of working on it, was the increase of the building heights. That will significantly give us almost more than double the development potential in the Diridon Station, and also increased development in the core. So I'm really excited and very fortunate to be able to work on a wide variety of things that are really making our city the place that people want to live and to work and to play. Not to sound cliche, but we're really getting to that point. We're able to do all of those things and more.
Great, thanks so much. And Eric?
My name is Eric Hallgrimsson. I'm a vice chairman at Cushman & Wakefield. As she mentioned, my primary day-to-day thing is that I do advisory work for large institutions for office space. So I list 5 of the downtown high-rises, and I have 2 adaptive reuse projects that are in the works. But in the last couple of years, I've also sort of, as if I needed more to do, as my wife would tell me, I decided to take a little bit of a different path because I thought it was underserved, and now I'm the lead for our land practice group in Silicon Valley. So I'm doing a wide array of different land-oriented projects, including both the co-living things. We close on the Garden Gate project at the end of the month. Was also involved in the Silvery Towers project, and we're looking at a wide variety of different, ground-up developments in downtown San Jose.
Case?
So I'd like to thank the Business Journal for giving me the privilege to speak in front of the community. What I'm most excited about by a long shot is student housing. It's really was one of the best opportunities we've ever had, and that when I look at real estate, I think strategy. And whether it be up in Oakland or in Mountain View or in Santa Cruz, real estate to me is strategy. And one of the easiest jobs we've ever done with student housing due to that piece of property. It just screamed exactly what was to be there. And so we're thankful to be able to put that together, put up 1,000 beds. It's kind of one of the first co-housing developments that we have in the city. And it's $1,200 a month per bed. And that is very affordable. And I know we're going to talk more about that later, so I don't want to bore you.
Great, thank you. And Eric Hayden.
Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Hayden. I'm the founder and president of Urban Catalyst. Urban Catalyst is a real estate equity fund focused on ground-up development in downtown San Jose. We're also an Opportunity Zone fund, which allows us to give our investors the benefits of the Opportunity Zone legislation. What a great time to be in downtown. I mean, downtown definitely over the last 50, 60 years has grown in fits and starts. But we really saw 18 to 24 months ago just the light switch turn on. And we're just excited to be here doing ground-up development projects. Our 7 projects in downtown, we plan to break ground on all of those projects before the end of 2021.
Great. So we've heard a lot throughout both discussions now about everything that's being built in downtown. At the same time, we're still seeing that office vacancy in the downtown is relatively high. About 12.9% as of the end of the fourth quarter. That compares with 6.2% in San Francisco and 6.9% in downtown Palo Alto. Eric Holgrimson, you and I talked about this a little bit, but what do you make of those figures and where do you see San Jose in the development cycle right now?
Well, if you look at things as far as the market is concerned, we have 1.1 million square feet downtown that's vacant. And 500,000 of that is basically in 5 different projects. The Towers at 2nd, 2 West, which is the DivCo project, which is 100,000 feet, 225 West Santa Clara. And then you have J. Paul with the 100,000 square feet on the corner, 1 West, as well as 50 West. Now, 50 West is in our numbers because there's a lot of vacancy, but it's not being published in the numbers by J. Paul because they're going to backfill it with tenants from CityView and other projects. And the 1 West project is also going to be backfilled. So a lot of this vacancy is going to come off, 300, maybe 400,000 feet in the first quarter. So that's going to drastically change. But for the large guys, there isn't anything available for them. Airbnb wanted to be in downtown San Jose. They went to Santa Clara because you can't get 300,000 square feet in downtown San Jose. J. Paul will fix that, but it's hard to get the large block projects off the ground because the highest rent we've seen is $390 net, and these projects pro forma at $550. So if you're Jay and it's your money and you have lending relationships in a portfolio that you can lend against, you can get something out of the ground. But if you're an independent developer and you're going out for a $300 million loan and the bank says, hey, where are your comps? Well, I don't have any, but I'm sure I can get it. I don't have any banks that are willing to do that. So it's a little, you're going to come out of the ground with 1 million feet, right?
Not on your life.
So there's a tricky thing with the economics, but the vacancy for the downtown for the existing product is coming down. And one other quick thing, a lot of the professional service folks and the longtime downtown tenants, if they don't need to be here, they're moving out. So I moved Heritage Bank out of downtown San Jose. The mayor was very unhappy with me. But when it comes to the rents, we got a deal that was below $4, and it saved 2 cents a share on the earnings for the bank to be in the airport. They're still in San Jose, but they didn't need to be downtown. So the tech companies that want to attract the younger talent, they're replacing those tenants. So there's turnover that's happening that's inevitable when rents rise. So you're seeing that, and you're seeing more tech having interest in downtown San Jose, but we need the product to give it to them. So,
you touched on this a little bit, but with San Jose being such a market in transition, we've speaking to sources, heard quite a lot about this issue of the comps just not quite existing. And I'd like to ask the 2 developers up on stage just to talk real quick about what the financing picture is for projects downtown.
Well, sure. So, the financing picture for projects downtown is your projects have to pencil. And the good news about downtown is if you acquire your land at the right value, projects pencil. Overall, there's a lot of buzz about downtown San Jose. Of course, our moniker, the capital of Silicon Valley. If you really think of the epicenter of Silicon Valley, it's Palo Alto. And what is interesting that's been happening, and a great example is the large tech tenants. I mean, obviously Google, we saw a lot about that today, which was fun. But as these large tech tenants have just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger, they have a new decentralized headquarters strategy where they want to make sure that their employees are able to get into their offices in a timely manner. I mean, how long does it take to get from here to Palo Alto in rush hour traffic? It's 15 miles. It might take an hour and a half. So it used to be cool to have folks on buses with Wi-Fi, and that was the big thing, like in 2002. But now people want to ride their mountain bikes to work. And as this decentralized headquarters strategy has taken hold, and Facebook is a great example, they took 1 million square feet in San Francisco, they took 1 million square feet in Fremont, but they took 2 million square feet in Sunnyvale. You've seen this large progression of the tech companies moving southward. They built everything out in Sunnyvale. In Santa Clara, there's some places to build. Campbell's pretty built out. Cupertino, Apple has 85% of the office space. So what you see is, you see downtown San Jose as the next stop on that train. With our infrastructure and our transit already here in place, this is the place where they're going to locate.
Great. Case, anything to add?
So getting something off the ground, as Eric says, is incredibly difficult. I think that's why they use the term groundbreaking. To get to that point is really, really a Herculean lift. And so what keeps me up at night is how we're going to build for less. And we've worked with so many different types of products. And right now, I think where we're headed is to this hybrid modular construction, where I just got back from Austin. Down there, they're building bathrooms and kitchens, and they put them on a 1/4-inch plate. And then from there, they have very heavy gauge metal steel studs that they are surrounded with, almost like a roll cage. So in the past, when you're doing hybrid construction, it's generally a wood box that's 15 feet wide, because that's as wide as you can take it down the street. By the time it gets from Oregon to San Jose, it's in bad shape, and it takes a lot of work to get everything plumb. So when I went down to Austin, I finally, I think we really are on to what is next. I think by 2023, we will never build any other way. The significance of it being on a 1/4-inch plate is that you don't have to depress the slab. So you can slide them in, we fly them in, and we can fly in 30 a day with our crane. And when you fly in those 30, not only are you flying in materials and know-how, but it's over 3,000 hours of labor that we can bring into these buildings in one day that we're able to do at a way more cost-effective rate down in Austin. And at the end of the day, the quality is even better than what we get on site. So, but what I'm also even more passionate about to get these jobs off the ground is affordable by design. And I would love to find a way to work with the cities where when we do something that is an SRO, so let's say we have 15% of our building that needs to be built affordable, that there would be some break in the affordable fees, because the affordable fees are about $150,000, but if you have a below market rate unit, it costs the development about $250,000 per unit. And these are the types of things that keep us from being able to make them financeable. So if we are able to build affordable by design, in other words, SROs, 300 square feet, they would probably be on the bottom floors or maybe mixed in, but they're going to have the same amenities, they're going to be safe, and they're going to be affordable. They're going to be around $1,500 a month, $1,600 a month. So I know that Michael Van Avery and I, we have a project right now that we would go on if we were able to build some of that affordable by design, because our fees are $10 million, which keeps it on the shelf, unfortunately. So I think that there are other developers in here that have that opportunity, where if they didn't have that $10 million hit to the pro forma, where they could actually break ground.
Great, and you know, that gets to my next topic I wanted to talk about, which is co-living. I know that's been mentioned up on stage a few times tonight, but that's essentially another affordable by design sort of model. We have two developers on stage who are both working on co-living projects. I'll start with you, Eric, but tell us a little bit more about why that model is so popular in San Jose right now.
Sure. So, you know, in our portfolio of our 7 projects, we have a variety of project types. We have a couple office projects, a couple multifamily, hotels, student housing, and senior living. Our 2 multifamily projects, I guess you could call them co-living. We call them a rent by the bed model. Co-living is kind of a very broad definition. But really the essence of it is that there's a price point out there that people can pay. And by doing a rent by the bed model, we can lower the rents so there's a large portion of the population that can't afford the types of apartments that are created in San Jose and Silicon Valley, and they'll be able to afford to live in the projects that we're building. Really, our target is to hit that missing middle. It's to hit the 120% AMI with no subsidy. And in an urban environment where millennials want to live, like downtown, it's the perfect place to build it.
Anything to add to that, Case?
Yeah, so the co-housing model, it works good for developers and the consumer. So for the developers, we're able to, they pay by the bed, so generally it increases your cost per square foot. A typical 2-bedroom is in 800 square feet, where when you do our co-living at student housing is at 1,100 square feet. So for 4 bedrooms there, under the typical market rate, that's 1,600 square feet of building for 4 bedrooms. Where we're doing it at 1,100 feet at student housing, saves 500 feet at $500 a foot. You're looking at $25,000 per unit. And if you have 400 units, you're looking at $10 million for the entire development. That's the kind of thing that changes whether or not you can get it off the ground. It's also great for the consumer because they don't have to pay for that extra common area, the extra door, the extra security, fire sprinklers, everything that goes into that. But there's a price, and that price is your privacy. And unfortunately, those are the kinds of things that we're really looking into from, I think with students, it's, you generally have students around you, it's fine. But I think if you have the public, you could end up having different people stay up at night, listen to different types of music, have pets that are maybe unwanted and those types of things. And I have a friend that has a co-housing deal in San Francisco and has a lawyer that's pretty much on retainer for that. And so, it would be difficult. I'm a non-smoker, and if someone came in and they smoked, that would really bother me. I mean, and I don't know. So there is that side of it that I don't want people to lose sight of because it's not a no-brainer.
Can I add one thing to that, though?
Of course.
Because I was working with the Tersinis on the two, mapping out the whole ordinance when we had the Star City project and the Garden Gate project going. And one thing I think is particularly interesting for the group with construction costs in mind is when we went out, we did this beautiful package. It's the #1 residential market in the US, best job growth, everything. And fully approved high-rise project, not a single traditional residential developer showed up that was interested in investing in the project because it was rents are for apartments in downtown, the highest rent is $385, and you're looking at, what is it going to cost you? $850 to
Well, just big picture on rents and construction costs. So if it costs you $400 a foot to build a net rentable foot, you need $4 in rent. And that's just across the board. It doesn't matter if you're office or warehouse. I mean, that you just go $1 a foot, costs you $100 a foot, it works. And then you go and you do all of your due diligence. But if you can't get right in that zone, you move on to the next one.
And I'd like to turn to Block A next. Tell us a little bit more about some of the changes the city is working on right now, particularly with regard to retail. I know you're hiring a retail development officer. Particularly for this audience, what impact should they expect to see from that?
Yeah, so we need things for the people that are going to live in all of these developments and work in all of these high-rise commercial office buildings to do. We need places for them to shop and services. So over the last 3 years, the city has done a number of retail strategies, a citywide retail strategy, a North San Jose retail strategy, and most recently, we've completed our downtown retail strategy, and really excited about hiring a retail development officer here in the next 6 weeks or so that is going to be focused solely on retail, which is kind of a function that when we had the redevelopment agency took a lot of that on. That wasn't really something that the city was doing, but with the Sunset of redevelopment, the economic strategy for the city has changed. And so we're very excited about two things. One, having that person that's going to be the liaison with the commercial broker community, with the retailers, is going to be able to match make, and is going to be kind of the face of San Jose and the city of San Jose at a variety of retail conferences and events. We're also excited about some of the new ordinances that we've put in place over the last year or so, trying to streamline and lower costs for outdoor sidewalk seating. At one point, we had a downtown ground floor overlay when we were really concerned about office tenants using up the majority of our ground floor spaces, and that really doesn't do anything when you have the blinds closed and people working behind closed doors. It doesn't do anything for the pedestrian environment or the streetscape in a city. And so what we've done is really focused on a few primary streets. We've tried to make it easier for a wider variety of ground floor active and retail uses to come into our downtown, really focusing on some of our primary addressing streets: First Street, San Carlos Street, Santa Clara Street, San Pedro Street, and narrowing down increasing the types of ground floor uses, narrowing down the areas that are restricted. So we're really looking forward to some of that coming to fruition as retailers are learning about these kind of relaxed ordinances.
I'd like to add to that for a second.
Sure.
I mean, retail in downtown and our street level, it is so important. I mean, it's what everybody here wants to see. You want to walk through downtown and have just a variety of amazing retail options and a fantastic pedestrian experience. And I think the city's been doing a great job with, creating these plans, doing things to encourage retail. What retail really needs is rooftops. Every time new retail is created, old retail somewhere dies if there's no population growth. I mean, everybody's talked about Amazon coming in and taking out 13 or 15% of brick and mortar stores. So where does that leave us in downtown? We need to build rooftops in order to create that type of retail, and let alone to solve the housing crisis. I mean, we have been creating jobs in Silicon Valley on a scale of 5 jobs for every housing unit built for the last 30 years in a row. And that is what's caused rents to go so far up. That's what's caused our housing prices to go so far up, our homelessness issues to increase and further get exacerbated. This housing crisis needs to be solved, and by doing so, we need to create more rooftops. And I just want to applaud the city again. They've done a great job of encouraging development in the downtown so that we can build those rooftops.
Blage, I know the city is also studying a universal development fee. Could you quickly tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So actually what we're doing right now is we're looking at establishing a framework for a universal development fee, and that's one of the council priorities. And the goal with that is to really make it easier for developers and for the community to take a look at the fees and estimate what they will be on their project. And so, we've got the big kind of 3 fees the developers pay: the parks fees, the construction taxes, and then the inclusionary housing fee. And so we've done recently some work on the inclusionary housing fee, and right now what we're doing in the coming months, we're going to be doing outreach, hoping to solidify kind of this program a little bit more by the spring, but really looking for a set of guiding parameters for the development of our fees. So for instance, looking at kind of geographic location, looking at types of construction, looking at rentable square footage versus previously where we had determined some of those fees on a per unit or a per square footage basis, which really didn't work. So right now we're looking at developing the parameters of the framework, and that's what we would come forward with. And hopefully in spring we will have some more, a more solidified set of parameters for that framework.
Great, and I think we have time for one more question, but before I go into that, any reaction from the developers about how a universal impact fee might change the way you do business?
Sure, I mean, we want transparency, we want clarity, we want, quickness. Obviously, when we're looking at projects, we build these pro forma models, and we need to be able to put numbers in the boxes. Right now, my Excel spreadsheet to calculate San Jose's fees is 12 tabs long. And it's going to be really nice to be able to call blogging and be like, hey, what's the fee? And she can go, here it is. And then I can plug it in, and that's going to be great.
Can't agree more.
I'm really excited for that call.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
I guess I'd say, flexibility. And there are different places where you absolutely should charge 2x. And there are other places where to get it off the ground, it would be really nice to have some help, such as Affordable by Design, in order to fill that affordable workforce housing gap and still provide rooftops.
Eric Holgrimson?
I support it depending on what the fee actually is. I think the one thing that we've witnessed it here is you have a lot of political reactions to some of the protests that happen, and you see all these votes, and they aren't the real big public votes about projects or anything else, but then it comes at you later on. It's like a lot of these things, the minimum wage thing, everybody should get a living wage, but now I can't go to OJ's for lunch because they can't open. And I'm sure that the guys waiting tables at OJ's were making far more than $15 an hour. So if you have people that are making $50, $60 an hour and they're getting lost in the shuffle, it's the right policy, but it maybe got implemented too quickly. And so, when we go to the city, the politicians about any project are like, we want to see more, we want to see more. And then you get into the weeds, well, we can't do this because this happened. Or we had this, this prevailing wage issue, so, we got to go in this direction. Inclusionary housing, goes up and down. So, getting clarity so you know what it is, because it also helps if you're trying to buy and sell property, because any development site, you have to come up with a series of assumptions. And you have to get a full fee structure and present it to anybody who wants to develop in the city. And so often, you go in and there's not a lot of clarity because you need a 12-tab spreadsheet to figure it out. And a lot of the national large developers kind of shake their head and we can't figure out how to do this project, and then they go away. So having the clarity, I think, will be a big difference in making something happen.
Great. So for our last question, I'd like to do this sort of as a lightning round. We'll start at the far end. But, we've heard a lot over many, many years that downtown San Jose's time has come and that it's really here. It seems like that's actually happening now. We certainly have a lot of cranes up. My question is, what's different this time, and will it really stick? And I'll start with Blage.
Okay. So what I think is different, and now I've been downtown for 2 decades, which is actually surprises me every day, but I think what's different than what we've heard before is that really we have folks in this room, folks up on the stage, it's market forces and it's private development that is driving this. In the past, we had the redevelopment agency that provided kind of much needed infrastructure, much needed capital, kind of created those good bones for our city and our downtown that were talked about earlier today. I think there were still, more hits than there were misses, but it was also kind of top down and from the government standpoint. And now we have private developers, some that have been tried and true here for years, like Swenson, others that are newer to the game, that really the market forces are working. They believe in downtown. They have this sense of community. What they're building is not just to take a profit and run. They're willing and looking to stay here for the long term, and they're invested in the community and the people of the community. And I think that is what is really different about the fits and starts that we've had before. It's really being driven by the private sector, for the private sector, and for the community. And so I'm really, really excited about that.
Great. Eric?
I think what's different this time is, traffic patterns have a lot to do with it, I think. But I think more importantly, people are figuring out where their employees actually live and how they're going to get to work. I think Google did a study and they found out that a significant portion of their workforce is south of Sunnyvale. So all of their employees are grinding to get up to Mountain View, up 85 and 101, and it's a mess. It's not a great quality of life. The buses help, but And it's much easier for most of those people to get to San Jose. If they're in Sunnyvale, it's reverse. Santa Clara, it's reverse. And a lot of the employees live in kind of the west side, whether, kind of Sunnyvale through Santa Teresa, basically. And so you have all of these people. It's much easier to get them to San Jose than it is to get them further north. And I think people are starting to see that. And it's not about, for a corporate user like that, the rent number that they pay is a rounding error to their overall employee cost. So if you give them the right facilities where they can hire and retain talent, the rent doesn't move the needle as much. So the big guys can certainly pay the rents to justify the construction costs, and they're finding that it's just much better for their employees, I think, to get into downtown San Jose. And with BART in, you're going to be the only locale where you can attract talent from efficiently from San Francisco, the East Bay, and the South Bay. Because right now, there's a lot of people coming over 680. I moved back to San Jose because I used to do that and couldn't take it anymore. And those people are miserable too. So the fact that they can take BART and get into downtown efficiently is going to just broaden the workforce that can be in the downtown core.
Great. We haven't talked much about BART today, but I know it's something that every developer in the room is really thinking about as they plan out their projects. Case?
Well, I'm not betting the kids right this minute on everything coming to town and when that's going to happen and why this is different. I think that I share something with everyone in here. I think we're all passionate about San Jose. And I'm so thankful that the city has really helped us, especially over the past 10 or 15 years. It's amazing how much pro-development they have been. And, but for me, I love what San Jose was. I love what San Jose is. And I'm really hopeful about what it's going to be. And what I'm trying to get to is that we don't just grow to grow, and that we're not thinking about how we're going to grow, how it's going to be safe, how it's going to be clean, how it's going to be healthy, how it's going to have retail and more eyeballs on the streets so that you can walk anytime you'd like. These are the kinds of things that I think we're all passionate about, and I think we're all working together. I know the city is, and I just really want to see us patted on the butt in the right direction. So,
Eric?
Well, so I guess I have a little bit of a different thought than Case, because I really think this is the time. I mean, I've been doing ground development in San Jose and in the downtown area for my entire career. And the last time I saw high-rises going up, really a little bit of high-rise in the last 10 years, but was 2006. And obviously that was, driven by the mortgage-backed securities market and, of course, the housing that bubble burst right after. Even before that, downtown office rents in San Jose, we're still not at the peak that we hit during the .com. So you can see it's been a long road coming back from that. The big difference, and I mentioned this a little earlier with the large tech migration, you think 10 years ago, how big was Google? And I mean that in how big a footprint of office space did they have? Because now they have over 21 million square feet of office. And you look at Facebook, 3 or 4 years ago, Facebook had around 2 million square feet of office. Now they have 6 million square feet of office. Google coming here to San Jose and building 7.5 million square feet of office. They're just, these tech companies are getting bigger and bigger, and it's not just the large ones, it's the medium-sized tech firms, it's the smaller-sized tech firms. Their footprints are growing at such a rapid rate because of the economy and the Silicon Valley job engine that San Jose is going to benefit from that. So it really is a market-driven factor, a lot like Blage said, that's causing this, this time around to be the real deal.
Great. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for sticking out the schedule. I know it was thrown off a little bit, but thank you for a great conversation, all 4 of you.
Great. Thank you so much. Please give our panelists and Marlise a big round of applause. And thank you for sticking around for the end of our program. We would like to thank our sponsors once again. Our partner sponsors, Bridge Bank, J. Paul Company, and Alaska Airlines. Our supporting sponsors, the City of San Jose Office of Economic Development, Lehigh Hansen, and McCarthy. Please give them all a big round of applause. I want to give one last shout out to Brian Carolyn on his last day here with the Business Journal. I know he has affected many of our lives, and so Brian, we wish you well. We do have a couple of events that are coming up, mentoring Monday, February 24th, and our Latino Leadership Awards on March 26th. You can find them all at our website, siliconvalleybusinessjournal.com/event. Thank you all. Have a happy Friday and enjoy the long weekend.